A boy born to inherit all of Japan died at 21, trapped inside a burning castle. His name was Toyotomi Hideyori. He was born on August 28, 1593, the son and chosen successor of Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the man who had unified Japan. His mother was Yodo-dono, niece of the warlord Oda Nobunaga. On paper, Hideyori carried the strongest name in the country. In real life, he inherited a divided world. When Hideyoshi died in 1598, Hideyori was still too young to rule. 5 regents were appointed to govern in his place. But in early 17th century Japan, power did not live only in documents. It lived in castles, marriages, hostages, armies, and names that samurai were willing to die for. Osaka Castle became more than a home. It became the last great symbol of the Toyotomi order. And the man who understood that best was Tokugawa Ieyasu. By the end, the question is not only why Ieyasu destroyed Hideyori, it is whether Hideyori was ever allowed to survive. Hideyori was Hideyoshi's second son, and his birth changed everything. Before Hideyori, Hideyoshi had already arranged another path for succession through his nephew, Hidetsugu. But when a direct son appeared, the older plan became dangerous. According to historical records, Hideyoshi exiled Hidetsugu to Mount Koya. In August 1595, he ordered him to commit seppuku. The violence did not end there. Members of Hidetsugu's family who did not follow him in death were murdered in Kyoto. The victims included 31 women and several children. For viewers outside Japan, this was not just a family tragedy. It showed how fragile legitimacy could be after decades of civil war. A claim to rule was not safe because people agreed with it. It was safe because rivals were removed. Hideyori was still a child, but his future had already been protected by fear. And that fear left a question behind. If so much blood was needed to secure his claim, what would happen when Hideyoshi was gone? After Hideyoshi died, the system of 5 regents began to bend under pressure. The leading daimyo competed for influence, and one man moved to the center, Tokugawa Ieyasu. He had once served under the Toyotomi order, but after victory at the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, he became the strongest political figure in Japan. In 1603, the Tokugawa shogunate was established, with its capital at Edo. Hideyori and Yodo-dono were still allowed to remain at Osaka Castle. That choice kept the peace for a time, but it also kept the problem alive. Many samurai who opposed Ieyasu could still point to Hideyori and say, "Here is the rightful heir to Hideyoshi's legacy." In Edo period politics, a famous name could become a banner, and a banner could gather men with swords. Ieyasu did not only face a young man in a castle, he faced a memory of the old order. But the next move was not a battle. It was a marriage. In 1603, Hideyori's marriage to Senhime was agreed. She was the daughter of Tokugawa Hidetada and the granddaughter of Ieyasu. The marriage was meant to reduce Toyotomi plotting and tie the two houses together. Yet Hideyori remained confined to Osaka Castle for years. Then, in 1611, he left Osaka and met Ieyasu for 2 hours at Nijo Castle. Reports say Ieyasu was surprised by Hideyori's conduct. This matters because some had treated Hideyori as useless, a boy symbol behind walls. The meeting suggested something more dangerous. He could behave like a ruler. Then came the bell. In 1614, the Toyotomi sponsored the rebuilding of Hoko-ji, the great Buddha temple in Kyoto. The project included a great bronze bell. One inscription read, "May the nation be at peace," using characters that the shogunate said split Ieyasu's name. Another wished prosperity for lord and vassals, and the shogunate read it as a sign that Toyotomi power would rise again. The inscription did not prove treason by itself, but it gave Ieyasu what politics often needs: a reason to act. And Osaka was already filling with men who had nowhere else to go. The bell incident turned suspicion into crisis. News reached Edo that large numbers of ronin were gathering in Osaka at Hideyori's invitation. Ronin were masterless samurai. In a peaceful age, they could be a problem. In a succession crisis, they could become an army. Katagiri Katsumoto tried to avoid war. He proposed that Yodo-dono go to Edo as a hostage. In this period, hostages were not only prisoners, they were political guarantees. Yodo-dono refused. Then she banished Katsumoto and several other servants accused of treason from Osaka Castle. With that, the chance of agreement with the shogunate dissolved. In November 1614, Ieyasu led 164,000 men to Osaka. The siege began on November 19th. The siege of the castle itself began on December 4th. At the Sanada Maru, Sanada Yukimura and 7,000 men fought for the Toyotomi, and Tokugawa armies were repeatedly repelled. Ieyasu used artillery. Hideyori was then induced to sign a truce and dismantle Osaka's defenses. Tokugawa soldiers tore down walls and filled the outer moat. At the moment peace was signed, Osaka Castle was being made impossible to defend. On January 21, 1615, Ieyasu issued a document sealed with blood from his finger and signed also by Hidetada. It stated that the ronin in the castle were not guilty, that Hideyori's income would remain the same, that Yodo-dono did not have to live in Edo, and that Hideyori's person was inviolable. The next day, Ieyasu received an oath from Hideyori and Yodo-dono that Hideyori would not rebel. But later, news reached the capital that Osaka was again seeking ronin. Ieyasu ordered Hideyori to abandon the Osaka fief. In April, he heard that Hideyori was gathering more troops than before and trying to stop the filling of the moat. Toyotomi forces attacked shogunate contingents near Osaka. Battles followed at Kashi on May 26th, Domyoji on June 2nd, and finally Tennoji. Hideyori planned for 55,000 men to strike the Tokugawa center, while another force attacked from the rear. According to Murdoch's account, Hideyori was expected to march out with his home troops. According to Siebold, as cited in the source, Ieyasu sent a warning letter into Osaka. The source says Hideyori stalled after hearing its contents. Then Osaka Castle burned and came under artillery fire. Hayami led Hideyori, Senhime, Yodo-dono, and others to a fireproof keep. Senhime left to ask Hidetada and Ieyasu to spare Hideyori. Hideyori and his mother waited. The source states that they committed seppuku. Yet one mystery remained. Hideyori's corpse was never discovered, according to the source. A rumor spread that he had escaped. Murdoch wrote that the rumor had enough merit to concern the shogunate, and Richard Cox recorded reports in 1616 that Hideyori was said to be alive. The verified outcome was still final. Hideyori's 8-year-old son, Kunimatsu, was captured and beheaded. His 7-year-old daughter, Nahime, was sent to Tokeiji in Kamakura. The Toyotomi clan was destroyed, and the last major armed opposition to Tokugawa rule ended. So what really happened to Hideyori? The safest answer is this: the heir of Hideyoshi was destroyed politically before he died physically. Whether his body vanished in fire, chaos, or rumor, his world did not